The latest news about Ford trucks has 1.3 million owners absolutely screwed. Could you possibly imagine vehicles from the 2015 all the way up to 2020 having such a catastrophic failure that it could impose a serious safety concern? Today we'll talk about some of the latest problems that the Ford pickup trucks are having with their automatic transmission now that the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration has their fingers on Ford. It's getting so bad, in fact, that the CEO has announced that there's going to be formal efforts to try to improve the reliability of some of these vehicles, to reduce the warranty claims, to reduce the recalls on some of these vehicles. I'm going to share this most recent catastrophic failure by Ford trucks. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The latest news from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, that's a mouthful, is that allegedly there's 1.3 million Fords that have a potential from locking up its drive wheels while driving at any speed. There's allegedly already been 130 some odd complaints of customers of the 2015 to 2017 model years of the F-150 that features the 6-speed 6R80 automatic transmission, which could inadvertently lock up its rear wheels or drive wheels while it's driving down the road. NHTSA has started to investigate due to the excessive number of complaints of customers with these particular transmissions. But the latest news is there's even more vehicles added to this list. Now, sadly, this all saddled on the backs of many other recalls that Ford's been dealing with. We know the CEO is focused on trying to improve reliability because reliability or lack thereof starts to cost the organization money. It starts to cost in repairs, recalls, and other fixes. Naturally, well, a lot of that does come out of the pockets of the OEM, and a lot of times the dealer just fixes them under a warranty time. A lot of the manufacturers just know that recalls cost them time and money, and while it saves them on the front end with possibly allegedly research and development dollars, it costs them big time in the tail end when you're dealing with not just the repairs but the reputational challenges that seem to come with these vehicles when there are more and more issues. Because another recall for the F-150 comes on the backs of a 2017 and 2018 Ford F-150, the Ford Expeditions, and specifically many that seem peculiar around the 3.5 liter EcoBoost engines. Other big recalls are the new 2.7 and the 3-liter engine, the 2021 and 2022 model years of the Ford F-150, the full-size Bronco, the Explorer, and the Edge, where they allege that the intake valve head can fracture and come off in the combustion chamber, ultimately resulting in a catastrophic engine failure. Of course, you have extra metal particulate in the engine when it's spinning at 4, 5, 6, 7,000 RPM, and all of a sudden that engine implodes. There's also been recalls for steering problems on some of the Ford F-150s, and as well, you've heard on some of the tow packages or the heavy-duty trucks with the more robust rear suspension having hub issues, and of course some of the parts coming apart, thus allowing the vehicle to roll away and the park brake not necessarily doing its job. There's been no shortage of recalls, and pretty big substantial recalls, some that are transmissions, some of their engines, some drivetrain, driveline. Now, recalls are nothing new. It's clearly a sign that something fell through the cracks, or maybe a development of problems later on, and sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes there's supply chain problems, sometimes the ordering of the parts, you don't realize until it's got a few miles on it that there's a problem. Sometimes there's a manufacturing issue. Sometimes it's a design or an application error where these vehicles maybe fail. And almost every manufacturer seems to go through a recall phase where they figure out some of these problems, they fix it, and they move on, and then hopefully after a couple of years the recalls don't come back. I mean, look at the likes of Toyota been dealing with replacement engines in their new 3.4 liter twin turbo V6s in their Tundras, as well as that new 8-speed auto in their new Tacomas. Even the likes of Ram, we've seen that they've had issues with brakes, they've had issues with fueling problems, and even some of their Jeeps and of course their plug-in hybrids have allegedly some fire hazards. So there's been no shortage of recalls recently, and it certainly begs the question, where's the durability? Well, some of this comes on the backs of course, advancements in technology, more powerful vehicles, more complex vehicles, and ultimately the pursuit of pushing these products out to the market, possibly in some opinions, maybe just a little bit too soon. Now, unfortunately, this problem, we thought it was restricted to the 2017 and less with the 6-speed automatic transmission. We've heard of transmission issues with Fords before, but the latest is, in addition, NHTSA has also added that there's been numerous complaints regarding the latest The 10R80 transmission found in some of the newer models, the 2017 to 2020 now come to mind, now are being included on this list of vehicles suffering the same fate. Now, the Ford F-150 happens to be one of the most popular pickup trucks on the market, and for good reason. They offer a very attractive design. They're very innovative. You know, they're running the V6 EcoBoost engine. They've been doing that for years. Now they're coming up with all kinds of new script, new designs, LED taillights. You've got this split rear finish on there, and of course, hitches, dual exhaust in some cases, beautiful wheels, quad cabs, and sunroofs, leather interior in certain models. This one here is the F-150 Tremor. These are gorgeous trucks, and for this reason, many people are buying them. But possibly, could that in fact be part of the issue? Because it's like they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And when you're one of the most popular truck manufacturers on the planet, and they're always swapping punches with GM. As a matter of fact, the only way that GM and Chevy outsold Ford is by collectively the two brands combined finally outpaced the F-150. This is one of the most popular North American pickup truck brands. On that note, the more vehicles you have on the road, the larger possibility and chance of seeing failures. Now, that doesn't let them off the hook. We know that there's some quality challenges. We know that there's been allegedly some challenges with these automatic transmissions, both the 6-speed and the 10-speed autos. I also personally know somebody who just lost their transmission in their new Chevy truck, a truck that really only had about 4 years or 5 years under its belt and a reasonable amount of miles, and they just finally had to replace their transmission. So every manufacturer seems to come and go with their list of challenges and their list of features and issues. But unfortunately, this 1.3 million owners of 2015 to 2020 Ford F-150s may in fact be screwed driving one of these Ford F-150s with the 6 or the 10-speed automatic transmissions. And as always, you want to get yourself some great reliable vehicles? Ha! Right there, check it out. Or right there, avoid those wrecks. Absolutely, if you want to keep some money in your pocket and you want to reduce the stress levels in your life, you want to avoid those wrecks. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.